could gather millions of love. Look at me alone. Nights were warm. I need wind and rain.
And now the program that asks the question, does a young woman's search for identity and fulfillment take on hidden meaning? And can love overshadow the shadow of the hour? Stay with us now for heart-rending contemporary drama on...
Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me.
Kids, don't try this at home. So now the MV8000's crunchy, warm goodness, whatever you want, can be brought to the new platforms via the external inserts to the MV1 Verselab. A perfect way to make these two work together, and it doesn't even take much. And so the way you can work these two together, use the positive attributes of either or. So if you really wanted that MV1 Verselab to have that MV8000 punch, you just run the MV8000 through the Verselab. You can even trigger, you can slave this one to this one and use this one to trigger the sounds, or like I like to do, use this as a new sound module for your 8000 and basically use the modern drums from here on here. I mean, it's so easy to do either, but I want to go a little further than that. In order to use MVs properly, you have to, first of all, throw away the guidelines you got from other units, because it's different. I'm pretty sure the Octatrack has its thing, and everything is not like an MPC. In addition to that, you're going to have to embrace a hybrid workflow. And what I mean by that is two ways to hybrid. You're talking about software and hardware, and then the sound of analog and digital, right? The right balance of both, because there's nothing wrong with digital. And we all know of the nostalgia and the harmonics behind everybody wanting to make sure their sound touches some sort of analog signal. So the way I've outfitted the imp where the sound meets at up here in the mixing board is like this. Tracks 1 and 2, which are where right now the Verselab MV1 are connected to. These are my analog. This is my analog signal path into any DAW, right? It has 2 inserts, and I have two tube pro channels plugged in both. So it gives me that analog warmth. It gives me a tube EQ and mic pre, a tube compressor, optical compressor, and it also gives me one of the unexpected things is that going inside the DAW, it gives me a bit of glue. That glue feel that people talk about, where it just everything sounds together, no matter how few sounds there is that are related or inside the composition, or how many sounds are inside the composition, right? So that's 1 and 2. 3 and 4 is like a digital effects rack. That is where the SP555 resides. So currently, the 555 is actually a conduit for the for the MV8000, right? So the performance effects that I got on the 555 can now be applied to the MV8000's back-end signal filters. So it's basically acting as two things. Actually, it's acting as three things. It's acting as a 37 rack unit digital effects rack, and that means EQ, which is kind of cool because on the Onyx 8, even though it has an analog EQ on board, you don't get that EQ going into the DAW. You only get the mic pre's. It bypasses the EQ. The EQ on the Onyx 8s are basically for the monitors or for going inside the SD card reader. So I can make all kind of loop captures with a 4-bar loop, and I can make different parts of the songs to either resample back into the MV8000 or to go straight into where the destination is. And the destination right now is Beatz. Now, the thing about this is that it is already formatted into a song. This is already formatted into a song. It's arranged already. The clips have their own effects settings, so it's going to be recorded just like this right into the DAW. So I'm going to simply pull up my Beatz app. You can't see it on the screen, but I want to pull up the Beatz app now and open up the editor. But I'm going to even go even further. I'm going to open up a song. And we're going to just simply record this as is, stem for stem, as well as the output on the master out, right? All doable. Now we have this in Beatz. So now what I've done is I've recorded that same song exactly as is right into Beatz. Now, one thing to note is that when you open up your Beatz app, if you've paid for, well, no, you may even have it on the free app, but when you open up the Beatz editor and then you open up a song to create a song, once you make certain settings, the MV1 Verselab, once you open up and make sure the MV1 Verselab is the audio interface, the audio and the MIDI routings will already be mapped out for you in Beatz. So when you pull up, it'll be tracked out just like it is on the front panel here. It'll be the MV1 kit track will be over here as 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, and then it'll also have an option to open up the MV1 external input, which was where the Fantom was residing. So basically, by recording this into Beatz, I bypassed the need to use it as a sample inside the MV1. Now, this doesn't mean that's not what you want to do, because I'm definitely going to take parts of this section of this song into, let me see this, let me stop this. I'm definitely going to take parts of this song and record this back into the looper track, which brings me into the guided workflow and going in the direction that Roland points when they are doing their gear. So we know the MV1 Verselab kind of instructed us to go, once we had this, then you knew it was more like a DAW. And if you've seen it's like your garden variety DAW. That being said, that was where we were going. So that's where the workflow. But people kept trying to push it in a zone where focused on simply and trying to make it into an MPC. People were trying to make it into something that you can substitute it for, but it's not going to be exactly the same. Furthermore, you're shorting yourself by doing it like that. Now, let's move on to the Verselab. It is my opinion that I think the Verselab, the integration with the Zen Beatz is slept on. And here I'm going to tell you why. Because most people obviously aren't maximizing it. So when I say maximizing it, spend a little money, man. So let's take what's going on with the MPCs now. Is that the MPCs are basically a platform. Okay? This is not the same MPC, and people like EA Ski and others have been saying this for a while, that it's not the same MPC anymore. Let me get back to the beat I was making, actually. It's not the same MPC anymore. So let's take with the Verselab, you already kind of was put into a platform to begin with because they released it on that same sound engine as the Zen Beatz DAW. You got a free version of the Zen Beatz, at least I did when I first got mine, with some sound packs, mind you. They had a few extra sounds for you know, for buying it or whatever. But one thing I noticed is that if you spent the extra $39, which if you plan on using this to do anything in depth, spend the extra $39, which gives you the version 3 of the max version of the Zen Beatz app cross-platform. So you have it on your Windows, iOS, your PC, and your MacBook. You can have it on all that stuff. Oh, and your Android if you want to. So right now I have 2 instances of the Zen Beatz DAW opened up. The first is here, which just recorded that song there. Then there's the one that's coming on the interface that's equipped on the Onyx 8, which is where this is me recording MV8000 in pieces, the whole song, right on the SP555. Now the 555 is 24-bit. So there's no degradation in the sound from the MV to the SP. It's the same quality. What I just did was record this right into the DAW. It's ready for anything else. If I want to add something, I can always go back and record more on the same open up track. But let's move on forward into another part of the aspect of it, and that is